Hello students, let's continue the poem The Sea and the Skylark from where we left it in the last lecture. In the last video I covered the first stanza of the poem. In the first stanza, the poet mentioned about the two age-old sounds of the sea and the skylark. Now in the next four lines, that is from line number 5 to 8, he is describing the sound of the skylark, the song of the skylark. So I'll first read out the four lines to you. Left hand off land, I hear the lark ascend. His rash fresh, rewinded, new skinned score, in crisps of curl off, wild winch whirl, and pour and pelt music, till none's to spill nor spend. Now first of all, I'll give you the meaning of a few difficult words and phrases. Let's begin with line number 5. Off land. Off land means above the earth. This refers to the skylark leaving the earth and flying up into the air. Ascend. Ascend means fly upwards into the sky. The next line, sixth line, rash fresh. Rash fresh means excitingly fresh or new. Then we have rewinded. Rewinded means renewed, refreshed. Then in the same line, sixth line, we have new skinned score. This means the song of the skylark is like a musical score which is compared to a new skein of wool, a new ball of wool. The poet means that the skylark's song is like a skein of wool, like a ball of wool, which unwounds as the skylark climbs into the sky to sing and then rewounds after he returns to the earth, having finished his song. Then line number 7. In crisps of curl of wild winch whirl. The skylark seems to whirl his musical score off the winch of his throat, not in a smooth and even flow, but as if it were in crisp curls of melody. Every note of the melody is compared to a lock of fleece waving in the air. Then in the same line we have, in line number 7 as well as 8, we have this phrase, and pour and pelt music. This means that the skylark pours his music, that is, produces his melody without any effort. And the skylark also pelts his music in the sense of making a great effort to produce it without a pause as long as he is in the air. Then in line number 8, we have to spill. To spill means to pour. To spend. To spend means to use or to produce. Till none's to spill nor spend. This means that the skylark sings till there is no longer any music left with him to pour out or produce. Now let's come to the explanation of these lines. From his left hand, some distance away from the seashore, comes the sound of the skylark singing as he leaves the earth and flies up into the sky. The skylark's song, ever the same, seems to follow a musical score which may be compared to a skein of wool or a ball of wool that is successively unwound as he sings while ascending into the sky and rewounds when the skylark returns to the earth, so that each song is as fresh as the one before. This score or the song, the skylark seems to whirl off the winch of his throat in a wild ecstasy, not in a smooth or even flow, but as it were in crisp curls of melody. The skylark pours out music without effort, and yet he pelts his fresh song with continuous effort till he has poured and spent all, and there is nothing left. Now I'll move on to the concluding 6 lines of the poem, The Sea and the Skylark. I'll first read out the lines to you. How these two shame this shallow and frail town, how wring right out our sordid turbid time, being pure. We, life's pride and cared for crown, have lost that cheer and charm of earth's past prime. Our make and making break are breaking down. To man's last dust, drain fast towards man's first slime. Now, first of all, let us do the meanings of the difficult terms in these concluding 6 lines. I'll begin with line number 9. This shallow and frail town. This is the reference to the town of Ryle, where this poem was written. It is described as shallow and frail, and shallow and frail are terms of disparagement for the town or urban life as contrasted with the life of nature, represented by the sea and the skylark. How these shame? This means that the sea and the skylark put to shame this town of Ryle with its meaningless, unworthy life, which has no vitality in it. In other words, modern urban life is something to which people should feel ashamed by comparison with the vigorous life of nature. Now, line number 11 and 12. How wring right out our sordid turbid time, being pure. The meaning here is that these two sounds of the sea and the skylark are pure, and they effectively wring out our urban habitations, which are ugly and muddy. Wring right out means effectively or fully demolish or supersede. Then line number 12. We, life's pride and cared for crown. We means human beings. We human beings are the pride of creation, and we are the crown or the topmost beings in the world, the topmost creation of God in this world. Cared for means being looked after by God. That is, God cares for us, but we have not learned how to make our lives worth living or valuable. Then line number 13. We have lost, that is, we have completely lost Earth's past prime. This means the early youth of the earth or of mankind, which has now passed. We have lost the joy and the glory of the morning of the human race. That time of joy and zest is gone because of our sinfulness and the selfishness of our industrial civilization. Our make and making break are breaking. Our natural inclinations are in process of decay and dissolution. This is a comment on the destructiveness of industrial materialism. Then line number 14. To man's last dust. To man's eventual death, when he will return to the dust of which he is made. Next phrase, drain fast. That is, losing our constructive energy rapidly. Man's first slime, that is, the original state of slime from which man emerged. Then line number 13 and 14. Down to man's, and so on, the concluding lines. Here means man is deteriorating rapidly. He is moving fast to his doom when he will die and mingle with the dust of which he is made. He is quickly returning to that original state of slime from which he emerged. Okay? Now, I'll tell you the explanation of these concluding 6 lines of the poem The Sea and the Skylark. These two natural sounds are putting to shame this town of Ryle, where life is shallow and devoid of vitality, as contrasted with the sea and the skylark. The sounds of nature, because of their purity, rise far above the sordid and confused human sounds of the town. We, human beings, are supposed to be the pride of creation, the topmost creation of God, and the honored lords of the whole world. But we have now lost the joy and charm of the earth when all things were in their prime. Now, the static and dynamic aspects of our being are in process of decay and disintegration. Our nature and natural objects are in the process of decay. This process will lead us to the state of dust which awaits us in death and which recalls man's original state of slime. Our end will thus rejoin our beginning. That is, we shall end as we began. We are witnessing not progress but retrogression. So with this we complete the explanation of the poem The Sea and the Skylark. Now one thing that you need to understand is that there is a stream of contrast in this particular poem. In the first 8 lines, the poet has introduced the sounds of the sea and the skylark. And this is followed by the concluding 6 lines wherein the poet has given in contrast the ugly picture of the modern civilization, the modern world. So while doing this particular poem, you need to keep in mind this line of contrast where the poet is comparing nature with the human world. There are 2 aspects of nature, the sea and the skylark. And on the other hand, we have the human world, this modern world, the modern civilization. So that's all for the explanation of the poem, The Sea and the Skylark. In the next video, I will be giving you some points on the critical appreciation of the poem. Thank you.